Toyota is about to flip the entire car industry on its head, and this time it's not hype, it's a full-scale product invasion. 5 brand new or fully reimagined 2026 models are landing almost back to back, and every single one targets a pressure point where rivals are already struggling. This isn't Toyota reacting to the market anymore. This is Toyota setting the agenda and forcing everyone else to scramble. The first shocker is the Toyota Mini Land Cruiser, and this thing exists for one reason: affordable, real off-road capability. Not a soft crossover pretending to be tough, but a compact, boxy, body-on-frame inspired SUV with real Land Cruiser DNA. Toyota is aiming directly at buyers who want something rugged without paying full-size Land Cruiser money, and that puts the Ford Bronco Sport, Jeep Compass, and even the Suzuki Jimny crowd directly in the crosshairs. Smaller footprint, tough styling, likely hybrid power, and legendary Toyota reliability is a combination that makes competitors extremely uncomfortable. Then comes the Toyota Stout, and this one is a direct message to the US truck market. Toyota isn't playing around with another niche pickup. The Stout is shaping up to be a compact or mid-size workhorse built for buyers who are tired of bloated, overpriced trucks. This hits right when Americans are complaining about truck prices, financing, and fuel costs. Toyota sees the opening and walks straight through it with a simpler, tougher, more affordable pickup that doesn't apologize for being practical. Right after that, Toyota does something nobody else has the courage to do: the Corolla pickup. This is a strategic nuke aimed at entry-level buyers, small business owners, and urban drivers who want utility without size or cost. Imagine Corolla efficiency, Corolla reliability, and Corolla pricing, but with a truck bed. That instantly undercuts nearly every small pickup and lifestyle truck on the market. It's not built to tow a house, it's built to sell in massive numbers, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. Then Toyota drops the 2026 RAV4, and people underestimate this at their own risk. The RAV4 isn't just a bestseller, it's a global weapon. The next generation model is expected to lean even harder into hybrid and plug-in hybrid dominance, better range, more power, and smarter tech, all while keeping the formula that already outsells almost everything else. While competitors are still figuring out EV strategy and incentives, Toyota keeps printing money with hybrids that normal people actually want. And then there's the final move, the 2026 Toyota Hilux, the global pickup legend that refuses to die. Stronger, more efficient, and likely electrified in some form, the Hilux continues to dominate markets where American trucks barely exist. Toyota isn't just defending its crown here, it's modernizing it, making the Hilux tougher and cleaner at the same time, while rivals are stuck between emissions rules and shrinking margins. What makes this lineup terrifying for the industry isn't just the number of vehicles, it's the timing. Toyota is hitting affordable off-roaders, compact trucks, global pickups, and hybrid crossovers all at once, right when prices, regulations, and EV uncertainty are crushing competitors. Every one of these models plugs a gap that other automakers either ignored or abandoned. And here's the part nobody wants to admit: Toyota doesn't need massive incentives to sell these vehicles. The brand trust is already there, the dealer network is already there, and the reliability reputation is locked in. While others burn cash on discounts and incentives, Toyota shows up with products people have been waiting for. This isn't just a product refresh cycle, it's a calculated industry shakeup. Smaller trucks are coming back, hybrids are winning, rugged vehicles are downsizing, and Toyota is positioned at the center of all of it. Automakers betting everything on expensive EVs are now forced to explain why Toyota is offering cheaper, more usable vehicles that still meet emissions targets. And the scariest part is that Toyota isn't done. These 5 models signal a broader shift toward practical, affordable, global vehicles that can survive economic pressure, regulatory chaos, and changing consumer demand. The Mini Land Cruiser alone could create a new segment. The Stout and Corolla pickup could redefine what a truck even is, and the RAV4 and Hilux ensure Toyota never loses its strongest foundations. This lineup tells a very clear story. Toyota sees where the market is going before everyone else does, and instead of waiting, it's already there, building vehicles that people will actually buy, drive, and keep for years. And that puts the rest of the industry in a position it absolutely hates being in, trying to catch up while Toyota keeps moving going forward, because once these models hit dealerships, the pressure won't just be on pricing or features, it will be on survival, especially for brands that can't afford to fight on this many fronts at the same time. And that's where the real consequences begin, because when consumers walk onto lots and start comparing value, durability, and long-term ownership, the conversation quickly shifts away from flashy promises and straight toward the question every automaker fears most: which one of these vehicles actually makes sense when the excitement fades and the payments start? And that question alone is enough to destabilize entire product plans, because Toyota is no longer chasing trends, it's exploiting weaknesses. Buyers are exhausted by complexity, subscription features, software glitches, and sky-high MSRPs, and Toyota's 2026 lineup speaks directly to that frustration with vehicles that feel intentional instead of experimental. Look at how these 5 models overlap without cannibalizing each other, and you start to see the strategy. The Mini Land Cruiser pulls in younger buyers and off-road enthusiasts who want authenticity without excess. The Stout targets blue-collar workers and families who still need a real truck but refuse to play the $70,000 pickup game. The Corolla pickup grabs first-time buyers, delivery drivers, and small business owners who value efficiency over ego. The RAV4 keeps Toyota planted at the center of the global crossover market. The Hilux holds down the international stronghold with unmatched durability and reputation. Every income level, every use case, every region covered. What's unfolding here isn't just competitive pressure, it's a reset of consumer expectations. Buyers start expecting durability by default, efficiency without sacrifice, and value without fine print. When those expectations spread, automakers who built their strategies around premium pricing and planned obsolescence are forced into uncomfortable choices. Toyota also benefits from something less visible but incredibly powerful: patience. It doesn't rush unfinished tech to market, and it doesn't abandon platforms at the first sign of criticism. That steadiness builds confidence, especially among buyers burned by early adopters' mistakes elsewhere in the industry. As more people realize these vehicles are designed to last, not just to impress for a lease cycle, resale values strengthen. Strong resale values pull in even more buyers, creating a feedback loop that's hard to disrupt. Competitors then face a double problem: lower new sales and weaker used values. And through all of this, Toyota keeps its messaging simple: no overpromising, no exaggerated timelines, no bold claims that require disclaimers later, just vehicles that show up, work as expected, and age well. In a chaotic market, that kind of reliability feels almost radical. This is why the industry response won't just be about new models, it'll be about damage control, explaining why trucks cost so much, why EVs depreciate so fast, why software updates are still broken. Toyota doesn't have to explain any of that, it just has to keep selling. And as these explanations pile up elsewhere, consumers begin to notice the contrast. One brand talks, the other delivers. One brand promises the future, the other delivers something usable today. That difference becomes clearer with every passing month, because once these 5 models are fully in the wild, shaping streets, job sites, trails, and driveways around the world, the conversation shifts from speculation to reality, and reality has a way of cutting through marketing faster than any press release ever could, especially when it's reinforced by millions of owners who simply don't have problems to complain about. And that next wave is where Toyota's long game really becomes visible, because these 2026 models aren't endpoints, they're foundations. Each one is built to spawn variations, special editions, hybrid upgrades, and regional adaptations without massive re-engineering, and that flexibility is something most automakers sacrificed in their rush toward all-electric bets. Take the Mini Land Cruiser again, and imagine what comes next. Trail-focused trims, overlanding packages, hybrid Torque tuning, global versions tuned for different terrains. Toyota can keep this model fresh for years without reinventing it, while competitors scramble to justify refreshes that barely move the needle. Longevity becomes a weapon when development costs are already paid off. The same logic applies to the Stout. Work-focused trims, lifestyle trims, fleet versions, maybe even a hybrid or electrified variant optimized for torque and efficiency instead of range-bragging rights. Toyota knows trucks sell best when they're adaptable, not when they're overloaded with tech that owners buyers never asked for. The Corolla pickup might be the quiet sales monster in all of this. As cities get denser and regulations tighter, compact utility becomes more valuable, not less. This vehicle fits into parking garages, narrow streets, and small businesses without compromise. That's not just smart design, it's future-proofing in plain sight. And while others struggle with EV depreciation and charging infrastructure gaps, Toyota's hybrid-first strategy gives it breathing room. The RAV4 doesn't need to prove a point, it just needs to keep delivering lower running costs and hassle-free ownership. That consistency keeps Toyota at the top, while others explain why their latest pivot didn't work. The Hilux, meanwhile, continues to function as a global benchmark. When Toyota upgrades it, the rest of the world watches. Competitors in emerging markets don't ask if the Hilux is coming, they ask how they're supposed to compete with it. That level of influence is rare, and Toyota has held it for decades. Think about what the Corolla pickup represents on a deeper level. It's not just a new model, it's a cultural shift. For years, automakers convinced consumers that bigger automatically meant better, that utility required size, weight, and massive engines. Toyota is dismantling that logic by proving that efficiency, durability, and practicality can coexist. That forces competitors to redesign entire platforms, not just tweak trim levels. The Stout adds even more pressure because it threatens margins. Affordable, capable trucks don't just steal customers, they steal pricing power. Once Toyota proves it can sell a no-nonsense pickup at scale, every inflated truck MSRP in the market starts to look unjustifiable. That's the kind of disruption that doesn't just hurt sales, it destabilizes financial forecasts. And the Mini Land Cruiser might be the most psychologically damaging move of all. The Land Cruiser name carries weight, history, and respect, and shrinking it without watering it down changes what buyers expect from off-road vehicles. Suddenly, capability isn't tied to size or luxury, it's tied to engineering. That makes marketing fluff irrelevant, and some brands rely almost entirely on marketing. Even the RAV4's evolution plays a role in this pressure campaign. Toyota doesn't need to gamble on full electrification when hybrids already dominate real-world efficiency. As governments soften EV mandates and consumers hesitate, Toyota looks prescient rather than conservative. The RAV4 becomes proof that gradual, practical electrification beats all or nothing bets. Globally, the Hilux continues to anchor Toyota's credibility. In regions where vehicles are tools, not status symbols, reputation matters more than touchscreens. By modernizing the Hilux without compromising its core identity, Toyota reinforces the idea that technology should serve reliability, not replace it. This is why analysts underestimate what's happening here. They look at individual models instead of the ecosystem Toyota is building. Shared platforms, proven drivetrains, scalable hybrids, and global supply chains allow Toyota to move faster and cheaper than most rivals. And that silence, that absence of drama, becomes one of Toyota's most powerful advantages, quietly expanding its influence while the rest of the industry continues arguing about what went wrong and what comes next. And that quiet expansion is exactly what makes this moment so dangerous for everyone else. Because by the time competitors realize the shift is permanent, Toyota has already locked in loyalty. Not hype-driven loyalty, but practical loyalty. The kind built when a vehicle does what it's supposed to do year after year without demanding attention. What's happening with this 2026 lineup is a redefinition of risk. For buyers, Toyota reduces risk across the board. Lower upfront costs, lower running costs, predictable reliability, and strong resale. For competitors, Toyota increases risk because every product now has to answer a simple comparison question. Why does this cost more, break more, or complicate ownership when Toyota offers a cleaner solution? The Mini Land Cruiser changes how people think about adventure vehicles. It tells buyers that exploration doesn't require luxury badges or oversized dimensions. That message spreads fast, especially online, where real-world capability matters more than showroom flash. Suddenly, expensive off-road trims start looking like poor value instead of aspirational. The Stout keeps tightening the vise. Contractors, fleet buyers, and rural owners start realizing they don't need oversized trucks for daily work. Once that realization sets in, full-size truck sales don't just slow, they fragment. That fragmentation is brutal for companies built around high-volume, high-margin pickups. Then the Corolla pickup quietly rewrites the entry-level market. Young buyers locked out by pricing finally see a path into new vehicle ownership that doesn't involve debt anxiety. That's a long-term play because first vehicles often define brand loyalty for decades. Toyota isn't just selling a pickup, it's onboarding the next generation. The RAV4 continues acting acting as the anchor. It's the vehicle people recommend without hesitation. Family, friends, co-workers, everyone has a RAV4 story, and the 2026 model only strengthens that reputation. Toyota is doing the opposite, expanding smartly, refining proven platforms, and leveraging scale in a way few companies still can. Dealers are already preparing for demand spikes, especially for the mini Land Cruiser and the pickups, because those vehicles hit emotional and practical needs at the same time. That's a rare overlap, and Toyota knows it. When excitement meets affordability, sales don't trickle in, they surge. And as these vehicles roll out globally, the ripple effects won't stay contained. Pricing pressure will increase, incentives will be forced, and suddenly brands that relied on loyal customers will find those customers walking across the street to a Toyota lot instead. That shift doesn't happen overnight, but once it starts, it's incredibly hard to stop, because at the end of the day, Toyota isn't asking buyers to believe in a future that might arrive someday. It's offering vehicles that solve problems right now. And as fuel prices fluctuate, as financing tightens, and as reliability becomes a priority again, this 2026 lineup starts to look less like a product launch and more like a reset button for the entire industry, one that forces every automaker to confront an uncomfortable reality that building cars people actually want at prices they can actually afford, with technology that actually works, might be the most disruptive move of all, especially when it comes from a company that has been quietly perfecting this playbook for decades. And as these models begin to reshape buyer expectations, the question is no longer whether Toyota can dominate this next cycle, but how many competitors will survive it, because once consumers experience this level of balance between capability, efficiency, and cost, going back becomes almost impossible, and that's when the real shakeup truly begins. And that's exactly where Toyota gains its quiet advantage, because while competitors chase headlines, Toyota shapes habits. Once buyers adapt to smaller trucks that still do real work, or rugged SUVs that don't drain bank accounts, the market doesn't bounce back to excess, it permanently recalibrates. That efficiency shows up in final pricing, and pricing is where wars are won or lost. Consumers feel this shift before headlines catch up. They feel it when insurance quotes are lower, when fuel stops are less frequent, when maintenance is predictable instead of anxiety-inducing. Those everyday experiences matter more than launch events or flashy screens, and Toyota has built its reputation around winning those quiet battles. As these 2026 models start appearing in different markets, competitors will respond, but most responses will be reactive. Price cuts here, rushed redesigns there, maybe a delayed EV suddenly rebranded as hybrid friendly. Toyota doesn't need to respond to that chaos because it already anticipated it, and the long-term impact goes beyond sales charts. Dealership traffic shifts, resale values stabilize, fleet buyers take notice, and suddenly Toyota vehicles become the safe choice in uncertain times. When uncertainty dominates, consumers don't experiment, they consolidate around brands they trust. This lineup also exposes another uncomfortable truth for the industry. Innovation doesn't always mean radical change. Sometimes it means listening. Toyota listened to buyers who wanted simpler trucks, real off-roaders, dependable hybrids, and vehicles that fit real life instead of marketing personas. And as that message spreads through word of mouth, reviews, and ownership experiences, the narrative around what a good car actually is starts to change. Because when millions of drivers start making decisions based on usefulness rather than hype, the entire industry is forced to follow, whether it's ready or not, and that momentum keeps building, model after model, market after market, pushing competitors further into uncomfortable territory, especially as Toyota continues refining these platforms, expanding trims, and adjusting pricing in real time, ensuring that just when rivals think they've caught up, the goalposts quietly move again, setting the stage for the next wave of pressure that hasn't even fully revealed itself yet. And this is where rivals start to panic, because Toyota isn't relying on one breakout hit, it's flooding the market with relevance. Ford, GM, Stellantis, and even newer EV brands are all vulnerable here. They bet big on high-margin vehicles and electric hype, and now Toyota is reminding everyone that volume, trust, and affordability still win when economic pressure hits. This lineup is perfectly timed for tightening credit, rising insurance costs, and consumers who are suddenly doing the math again. The mini Land Cruiser alone threatens to embarrass brands that tried to sell image without substance. Real ground clearance, real durability, real engineering, all wrapped in a smaller, cheaper package. That's dangerous because once buyers realize they don't need massive SUVs to feel capable, an entire segment starts to shrink. The Stout and Corolla pickup together are even more disruptive. One offers traditional toughness without excess. The other offers urban utility without compromise. That combination attacks everything from the Ford Maverick to overpriced mid-sized trucks, and even crossovers pretending to be active lifestyle vehicles. Toyota is essentially asking consumers why they're paying more for less usefulness. Meanwhile, the RAV4 continues to quietly dominate without needing reinvention theatrics. Better hybrid systems, more range, smoother performance, improved interiors, all without alienating the millions of people who already trust the nameplate. It's evolution instead of disruption, and that's exactly why it works. And then the Hilux looms in the background like a reminder of what Toyota does best. This truck has survived wars, deserts, sanctions, and decades of abuse, and now it's being modernized for a world obsessed with emissions and efficiency. That sends a message to global markets that Toyota isn't choosing between toughness and sustainability, it's merging them. What makes this moment different is that Toyota is launching all of this while others are pulling back.